First item, resolution, MVWA application, New York State, EFC for grant. Is that you, Dan?
Yes. So the board probably remembers Kemble Street, we had an order first, but either way.
Oh, sorry, I did. No, I did skip it. We'll go back. I'm sorry, Dan. The award for contract for Kemble Street.
Yes, so our maintenance garage at our Kemble Street facility requires the two double doors between our garages and the cavity above the doors to be replaced with a fire rated doors and some concrete blocks, masonry blocks, in order to allow the use of the garage as the operational function for us. The use of storing trucks. Right now, we don't store trucks in that garage because the last fire department inspection we had called those doors deficient. So this is a contract that would replace those doors with new fire doors. We advertised the contract or the contract per our procurement policy and received for the initial advertisement, we received one bid that came in at $76,000. We decided to rebid. We received two bids with the rebid, one at $56,000 and the lowest bid at $29,700. So that's pretty close to the budget we had in place. So I'd like to recommend to the board that we approve this resolution and this contractor.
Any idea of the difference? Any idea why there was such a wide difference in the bids?
Just opportunity, I believe. I think oftentimes when contractors have enough work, they'll submit a bid on the hopes that it'll get approved for a higher amount. So,
Any other questions? Someone care to move the Thank you, Jeff. A second. Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. Now the application.
this application is for and related to the extension of a transmission main to serve the Five Valley communities, town of Schuyler, town of Herkimer, village of Herkimer, Frankfurt, and Ilion. This project's been in the concept phase, preliminary stages for a few years. We didn't want to miss the opportunity to submit, now that there's potentially some more progress with this project and potential for it to move forward. We wanted to submit an EFC application. It would be the grant application for under the Water Infrastructure Improvement Act, and for the project that we have named it the Eastern Mohawk Valley Regional Transmission Main Project Phase 1B. So I'll read the resolution. The Mohawk Valley Water Authority proposes to undertake the construction of a new transmission main that will provide 3 million gallons per day of water from the existing transmission line located on North Genesee Street in the city of Buga to a point of beginning for the Herkimer County IDA's Phase 1A project at the intersection of Windfall Road and Herkimer Road in the town of Schuyler, located both in the Nida and Herkimer counties. The proposed project cost will be approximately $20,634,100, including legal survey, design, construction, and other project costs. Back last year, we completed a SEQR, which is a State Environmental Quality Review Act review of the project, and determined a negative declaration. The reason that we're here today is because there's been a slight modification just to the alignment from last year. The board did approve this resolution. We did submit an application for funding last year. We weren't successful, but we're going to attempt to do it again. Like I said, the only thing that had substantially changed is the alignment at the point of beginning. The Water Authority intends to finance the project through this potential WIA grant, potentially other grant opportunities such as the congressional direct funding process and other MVWA capital improvement funds.
If I can just jump in if that's okay.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify too that all this resolution is doing today is authorizing us to make application with the Environmental Facilities Corporation, EFC, which is the state's financing wing for public stuff like this. However, what you're not voting on is any kind of a commitment to actually do this project or to take the money and apply it and put it in the ground. All that would happen is we'll put the application in. If the application is approved and the funding is granted, then before we accept it, we'll know a little more about the project. We'll know whether it's going forward or not, but it'll come back to the board for further review. The actual project itself, Dan mentioned that what's been proposed for several years now is a transmission line going eastward all the way to Herkimer and Ilion and everybody along the way. That was stalled. It's recently been sort of reinvigorated, which we'll get to later today. We'll share a little more details. But in the meantime, on our side of that project, there's some work we would need to do to prepare to connect up to that line and make sure all the water is available to go in that line. That's the money we're talking about here.
So how much will it cost to prepare?
Potentially $20 million if everybody's involved. Now, if Herkimer was not going to be involved, it would be a lot less than that, almost nothing. But we're going to be applying for all kinds of grant money. And as I said, this resolution just authorizes us to submit an application for this funding. It's not committing the board to any specific project.
Right.
All of that will have to come back at a later date for
But
further
we
review.
did send a letter to Herkimer,
Yes,
and we gave them a due date of
Right.
responding.
and
by-
I'll get into that a little bit later if you don't mind
Oh,
in executive session.
Frank?
Just a quick question, the 20,634,000, you're asking 100% of that, or what proportion of that are we going to pay?
There's limits on the WIA grant amount. I don't recall what it is.
It's a $5 million maximum for the FC's WIA grant.
So capital on the 5 million, or any proposed idea where we're gonna get the 5 million?
Well, no. The 5 million would be the maximum grant amount. We'd be funding the other 15 million. But we're also going to be seeking funding from our congressional representatives, which there's a process set up for that, which we're currently applying for as well.
But this is just applying so we can decide later if we don't have the money, right?
Correct.
Mhm.
Correct. Even if they award it, we don't have to accept it.
Mhm.
Even if they award it, we don't have to accept it. So all you're doing right now is authorizing an application, and there's no further commitment beyond that.
If we only got 5 million, will we still go forward?
Well, that's something the board would have to decide, but we've run the numbers, and even without the 5 million, we could still fund all that, and the water sales pay for the debt service plus a whole bunch more left over. So it would, and I could share that later, but the project still makes sense to us financially, even without this money. But the more grant money we could find and apply to the work we have to do, the more favorable the equation becomes for us in the long run.
Motion to move, Mr.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Thank you. Any further discussion? Just as a reminder, if the project doesn't pay for itself and make a little money for us,
Yeah.
it's not going forward.
Exactly. Like I said, it'll all come back to the board.
Any further discussion, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. Resolution regarding a new title to be added to the Teamsters bargaining unit.
Yes, so we currently have an employee out on leave at our garage. So to backfill his position, we decided that it'd be easier to find somebody that has less experience, that we can pay less, and that can do like the lower level tasks. Because the higher level position that person held, very difficult to fill. We sent over a duty statement to civil service. They called it an automotive mechanic helper. We filled the position. The person's working there now. It's bargaining unit work. So the bargaining unit, wants to claim the title, and that's what this memorandum of agreement is doing. It's just putting the title in the bargaining unit. The work already does belong to the unit. It's a formality.
Anything else on this, Pat?
No, the only thing I would add is that, and I don't know if Sandra said it, but the person that's out that got hurt was a full-fledged mechanic. And as she said, finding a full-fledged mechanic is difficult.
Mhm.
But we had a person already within our ranks who was already a Teamster member, was already in the bargaining unit, that is moving over to take this job, mechanic helper, but it just didn't exist at our
Mhm.
location. So now that we've created one, we're just inducting it into the unit.
So we don't know how long he's gonna be out, right? There's no way to know.
There's no way to know that right now. But the single mechanic that's left, we're starting to fall behind, so
Yeah.
we wanted to get him some help.
But when he comes back, you're going to do what with this guy? If he comes back.
I can't answer that right now because I'm not sure.
Is he allowed to switch back?
He's temporary in his current title. He does not have permanent rights to any other title.
I see.
He was an employee that had been here short term and this title. He was permanent in anything.
So he can be rolled back into the old title?
He wouldn't necessarily get rolled back. That's to be determined. I can't answer that question at this time.
So this is permanent for this person taking that spot then.
This position is temporary only. It was bid on a temporary basis. The employees in there.
So it's temporary until that guy comes back then.
Yes, so the original mechanic that is out on leave will be coming back to this position eventually, hopefully. If not, it would become a permanent vacancy.
So then this gentleman will move back to his old position?
He does not have rights to any positions.
None whatsoever.
None whatsoever.
But if the mechanic does not come back, then in all likelihood, if
Right.
the gentleman who's the auto mechanic helper right now, if he's functioning well, doing a good job, then he would become permanent in that time.
Right. Or if there's something else open and he bids it and he's deemed qualified, he would go under that title.
Thank
As
you.
you can see, the Teamsters have agreed to this. They've already signed. Thank you, Rich. Is there a second? Thanks, Denny. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. Next is lead service line replacement project funding, which is under our presentations tab. Is that you, Pat?
It's the blue, is it? Oh, mine's blue. I don't know if there's a blue in it. But it's in the presentations. You'll see a memo there, a draft memo to our Water Finance Authority. So the reason for this is because, and we met with Ellis and we met with Bruce Brodsky before he went on vacation because he wasn't going to be able to be at the Finance Committee meeting. But what has transpired is that you probably know that we received grant money from the state of New York to do lead service replacements. It was about $8.9 million or so in grants. We accepted the grant. The award letter actually came to us last December. It said we're eligible for a grant and a zero interest loan. We chose to go with the grant. We started the work. Dan then got a call from the state health department. They said, apparently our letter wasn't clear enough, but if you take the grant, you have to accept the zero interest loan or you have to show matching funds on hand. So the grant was only supposed to cover up to 70% of the work we scoped out to do replacement lead service lines, which was a little over $12 million. So the balance is $3 million and change. If we had that on hand in reserves and elected to take that money and we said to the state, we're going to spend our own money, then we could just get the grant. But right now, we don't happen to have $3.5 million laying around that we were going to suggest to the board we go spend on lead service pipes. So in the meantime, we also believe that when the new regulations come out on lead pipes, the most that's going to change is that they may extend the timetable a little bit. Instead of saying you got to get rid of all your lead pipes in 10 years, they might say 12 or 15 years. But what is extremely likely in our view is that we're still going to be required to rip out all the lead service pipes, of which we think there's anywhere between 4,000 and 6,000 of them in combination with their side, our side, both, etc. Maybe more than that. This could be a $40 to $60 million undertaking. So far we've been trying to get all the free money we can, quote unquote, free money from the state in the form of grants. The rest, if we're mandated to do it, would have to be done with money that we would presumably bond for. So when we bond, we're going to end up paying interest on that, whether it's 3.5%, 5%, somewhere in between. So the state is saying essentially, if you want that grant money, then your matching funds, the rest of that balance has to be then, unless it's your own cash, has to be the zero interest loan. The good thing about the zero interest loan is that one, we would probably find ourselves in 2 or 3 years from now borrowing money anyway on the open bond market at interest rate costs 5%. This is zero. Two, they said that the first payment would not kick in until 2027, sometime in there. So it wouldn't affect next year's budget as far as new debt service goes. They also said we could structure the debt payments really any way we want. We could go out up to 30 years. So if we did that, the debt service would only be somewhere around $120,000 to $130,000 a year. New debt we'd have to build into the budget. And if you stretch it out 30 years, it really doesn't matter because it's at 0% interest. Normally you don't want to stretch something out that long, but in this case we could, and it would be fine. So that's kind of where we're at right now. But the thing to understand is that the way that this whole authority was set up under the law, this board, because you have the ability to set the rates, You do not have the ability to take on debt. They did not want to have rate making and debt under one board. So they set up a second board, the Water Finance Authority, to do the debt stuff. So whenever we borrow, they're the ones that do it. And typically, the way we've done that is this board will decide that there's a project that has merit that this board wants to do and needs funding and financing from the other organization. And we make a formal request, and that puts them in motion. That's what this memo is about. It's basically saying that this board has concluded we want to continue this lead service replacement program with the zero interest loan offered by EFC. And please set up the process to do that. Jim and I have already had, and Dan and Phil already had a conference call with our bond counsel down in New York about how to go about doing that. She's already working on a general resolution that can go to EFC for the Finance Authority to act on and accept this money. So the real question is, do we borrow money later at 4 or 5 or 6% interest, or do we take the zero interest loan from EFC right now and continue doing this work? And that's what this comes down to. And if we decide we want to continue, then your approval of this memo requesting money to the Finance Authority would trigger this being sent to them tomorrow.
Does
Yes.
that loan do anything to hurt us with the grants, future grants?
No, but I will say that the round of grant funding that we received, which includes the zero interest loan, there's one more round, and then it dries up after that. We've already put an application in for that, and so
Your positive's gonna dry right up.
Pardon me?
There's gonna be no more.
the way that it was WIA, the Water Infrastructure Improvement Act, the way the act was written, the funding stops after this last round.
And they're not going to replenish the.
We don't know that. But what we do know is that if we receive a similar award from the last round that we just applied for, it will have the component of the grant money and the zero interest loan. So we'd be faced with the same situation. In which case, we'd either turn the whole thing down, or we'd have to go for the whole thing again, just like we're recommending now.
What happened to the study we did years ago? We used to, when we replaced the service, we cut a big piece of it out.
Mhm.
And Connie was here then, and it was all tested, and it was determined there's no hazard.
Correct. And then Flint, Michigan happened. And what happened in Flint, Michigan was they changed water sources without doing any testing. The water they started using was highly corrosive, and the lead levels shot through the roof. And everybody in Congress said zero tolerance. That's it.
So they don't care.
So we don't care. All the lead has to go. Period. The end. Phil's been working very closely with Corona Environmental to tweak our corrosion control process, which is what you're talking about.
Right.
It's chemicals we add to the water that make the water less corrosive. It's more neutral. It buffers the water, so it does not absorb the lead. But they're also lowering the action limit from 15 parts per billion down to 10 parts per billion. And right now, it's doubtful if we could get to that 10 consistently with just the tweaked corrosion control that's been devised by Corona. And so, in the meantime, though, right now, unless the legislation changes, they're going to say, you got to get all these lead pipes out of the system. At that point, maybe we stop the corrosion control and save a little money on chemicals
Right.
if we can do that. It's a lead and copper rule, so there's more to it than just lead. Phil, anything you want to add to that? Did I miss anything?
No, I think that's fine.
So that's where we sit today.
So to be eligible for the 8, we have to do the 3 no matter what.
Or they want the grant back. And we already have contractors working, which the board approved.
So we don't want to do this, but we have to do this.
And the money can only be used in environmental justice zones. Is that what they call it? So there's all this money's being spent in various sections of Utica that qualify for economic conditions and evaluation, and the money's only targeted to certain areas.
How do they determine that?
Good guess. I don't know.
Number of criteria that they use: medium household income, racial diversity of the area. There's a number of things that they use.
Right.
There's no. You said 30. You can max it out to 30 years, so the payment will be around a little over $100,000. You quoted. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. The balance of the money that we would be seeking in the zero interest loan is in the memo. It's actually 3.8. So, yeah, if you went out 30 years, it'd be whatever 3.8 million divided by 30 years.
108,000.
Yeah, somewhere in that. Yep.
Anything else?
If you have to do it, you have to do it, right? Motion to move.
See that ourselves on something.
Someone care to move approval? Thank you, Frank. A second. Thank you, Mark. Any further comments, questions? All those in favor? Anybody opposed? Thank you. The updated strategic plan. Is that you, Pat?
Very quickly, as most of you know, we had a strategic plan in place over the last bunch of years that originated probably 20 years ago. We did an update to it along the way. The board had input. I felt before I leave, I wanted to get the plan updated so that the management staff that is going to be continuing on here will at least have some framework of what we all believe is our core principles and priorities and things of that nature. So the idea is that the strategic plan and the budget should go hand in hand. We're funding things that we want to do that we've identified in the plan and vice versa. The way we did the update this year was we had a series of 10 or so meetings right in this room. I wanted to make sure that every single employee in the organization was able to sit in on one of the sessions so they could go through the plan, hear their input, get their ideas, etc. I do want to thank 4 of the board members that came in: Denny, Rich, Ron, and who was the 4th one? Why do I keep forgetting? Oh, Bruce, he's not here. That's why. Yes, thank you. Bruce Brodsky came to one of them. But essentially, we worked through the old plan. We crossed off things that we thought were accomplished already. We added some new things. We tweaked some of the language. And it's kind of catchy. I like it. So what's in front of you today is the draft plan, which I think Amy sent out probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, a couple weeks ago. Hopefully you all had a chance to look at it. If you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, the goal would be to have this plan adopted and be sort of a working blueprint moving forward.
Any questions for Pat? Someone care to move approval? Thank you, Rich. Is there a second? Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. Reaffirmation of HR policies. Is that,
No changes. These are just the same ones that were approved last year. It's just the annual reaffirmation.
well, that's for cancer, travel, and pregnant workers.
Yes,
So they're the same. We just have to,
same, you have to reapprove them.
for the Public Authorities Act. Yeah.
That's correct.
Someone care to move, well, is there any questions? Someone care to move approval? Thank you, Frank. Second? Thank you. There was a bunch. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. Reaffirmation of IT policies?
We had our cybersecurity and disaster recovery partner, Tri-Delta Resources, review our policies. The remote access policy, the mobile device policy, and the network infrastructure policy recorded no changes, so those are the same. There's 2 changes for the information security policy. One is cleaning up some language. The other addresses AI and possible security issues going forward. If you look at the second page, there's a summary of what they've changed on the policy. The first page has the definitions, and on page 4 is the actual changes that they've proposed.
All right, Jim, just so I have this straight. The mobile device policy is the same as last year.
Yes, mobile device.
The remote access is the same as last year.
Not for infrastructure.
So those 3 are the same as last year. Could I have a motion on those 3 for approval, please? Thank you, Denny. A second. Thank you, Mark. Any further discussion on those 3? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. And I'm sorry, the information security policy, I know I had looked at that thing, but I can't remember where it was. Page 4.
Where's the section on AI?
Oh,
It's on-
I
it's on-
was looking in the wrong place.
Just look for the red print on page 4.
Oh, I see that.
And that's unacceptable use. Okay, let's see that. Any questions regarding this policy? Someone care to move to approve it? Thank you, Dale. Second. Rich, Jeff. Any further comments or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. Jim?
July, you have, in your packet, you have July's monthly financial. We'll catch up to August, next board meeting. We had a lot to do. We had our budget. For those that didn't attend the budget workshop, you have a memo and a little packet there of the numbers. We're proposing a 2% increase in the budget for 2026. The monthly financial report, consumption overall year to date is comparable with last year. So we're kind of right at the ceiling or floor that we were in the prior year. And that's continued into August, by the way. We already looked at August. We're actually a little above. Water sales for the month of July, 15.9 million. That's 250,000 above the budget, 882,000 above the prior year. We need that to balance out the budget. Cash flow, we were positive for July. We're catching up on recovering the downward trend in cash because we used some of the FEMA funds that we had received in 2024. So we needed to pay some bills there related to FEMA and reimburse some other projects we use. So we're building the cash back up. Any questions?
Any questions for Jim? I forget, do we approve this report? We don't. Good. You think I might know this after 350 years. Thanks, Jim. Pat?
I'll be brief. There's a lot to talk about, but a lot of that I'd like to reserve for executive session. So the only thing really that's of real importance right now is that the reservoir is about 8.5 feet below normal right now. We are in a extremely dry, I don't know if it's quite a drought watch on the watershed area or not, but it's close to it. This morning, the inflow was all the way down to about 61 cubic feet per second, which is very, very, very slow for the West Canada Creek. But both the elevation trigger and the 30-day running average inflow trigger have been hit, which means that under an agreement we have with the state, we had to enact what's called the Enhanced Protocol for Communication, which includes not only us, Canals, and the Power Authority, but a whole host of other people, the DEC and the Health Department, for example. Power Authority did reduce the outflow from 300 CFS, cubic feet per second, to 200 CFS beginning last Wednesday. That's about the absolute rock bottom that they can do because they are required under DEC law to maintain 160 CFS going down the West Canada Creek below the dam, so for the trout habitat. And right now they're diverting about 40 CFS at Morgan Dam down the 9 Mile feeder to keep some water in the canal for navigation purposes. So 200 CFS is about the bottom. Elevation right now is a little over 1202 above sea level elevation, which puts it about 23 feet down from the top of the dam.
Wow,
So if you drove up there, it's going to look pretty empty.
I would say.
But they're watching it closely, and they have the outflow to the absolute minimum amount they can do right now. The only silver lining is I was watching the weather forecast over the weekend, and the meteorologist said that the long-range model shows that they're expecting a wetter than average fall starting towards the end of September, going into October. So hopefully we'll get the fall rains, it'll fill back up, and everything will be fine. But it is low. We're not experiencing any operating difficulties yet. But should the level drop another 4 to 5 feet, we will be very concerned. We might start having water quality issues at that point. So obviously we're watching it very closely. The next conference call with them is this Thursday. But right now we're kind of in a wait and see mode. Personally, I think they let out a little more water earlier in the summer than they probably should have. But there's nothing to be done about it right now. So at any rate, I do have other information related to this Eastern Transmission Pipeline project, but I would like to reserve those comments for executive session because it will involve some negotiation.
Any questions for Pat? The executive session will be last. Any old business? Any new business?
So the new business, you'll see on the agenda, grant writing, that kind of goes back to this whole Eastern Transmission extension thing. I mentioned earlier that there's work to be done on our side of the equation, perhaps as much as $20 million. We've been using an engineering firm to submit applications for various funding streams. I also mentioned previously that we're going to be seeking what's known as congressional direct spending. Every member of the House and every member of the United States Senate is now given a pot of money that they can divide up and fund whatever projects they deem worthy. Personally, shut the cameras off. I just think it's nothing but the incumbent re-election funding stream. It used to be called pork barrel spending, but every newspaper across the country got very upset about it. And so they formalized it into an actual program. Now you can actually apply for pork barrel spending. So in the meantime, we applied for some last year. We didn't get any. We'd like to do it again this year. There's a name that's come to us through various sources. Dan has worked with this person in the past, who is a grant writer that not only submits the grant application, but then does follow up and tries to set some things up, get us in front of those people, do some advocacy, I'll call it, things like that. The proposal that Dan has from this individual is set up two ways. There's an annual fee, which we talked about at the Finance Committee meeting and opted not to do, but there's a one-time $10,000 fee to submit the application but do all the follow-up work for us. To put that in perspective, the engineering firm that we've been working with for numerous applications in the past has been charging us right around the $5,000 mark. But once it's in, they're done with it. We're on our own. This person has an excellent track record of getting tens of millions of dollars for clients by making phone calls and doing, all the paving to get us in the door. And Dan, as I said, has worked with this firm in the past and feels that it would greatly increase our chances of being able to get this kind of funding. So we thought we might try it. The worst that happens is we spend a little bit more money than what did the engineering firm. But in the best case scenario, we'll see some money come out of this and it'll more than pay for itself, obviously. So I don't know, Dan, did I miss anything on that?
And if it doesn't quite work the way we want, we won't do another project.
Yeah.
But I think it's well worth giving it a shot. So would someone care to move an approval? Thank you. Second. Denny moved it and Mark seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Anybody opposed? Thank you. I need a motion to go into executive session to discuss potential expansion. Second. Thank you, Rich. All those in favor? Anybody opposed? Thank you.